Now for what's tipping the scales, a face-off of sorts in an Ohio courtroom as a father appeared for allegedly killing a deputy. This after police shot and killed the suspect's son just one day earlier. Retired Deputy Larry Henderson had nothing to do with the shooting death of Ryan Hinton. But authorities say that Ryan's father struck and killed the deputy in what could be an act of revenge. More now from Scripps News, Cincinnati.
We're going to go right more.
As Rodney Hinton Jr. was brought before the judge for a bond hearing, things grew tense with this moment that brought everything to a standstill. A man who appeared to know Hinton tried speaking with him through the glass, prompting law enforcement to throw him out of the courtroom.
I cannot recall a case that I've ever seen like this.
The judge ordered Hinton to remain in custody at the Claremont County Jail without bond. Dozens of CPD officers, Hamilton County Sheriff's deputies, and those supporting the Hinton family watched on as the judge made his ruling.
This is the most unusual case.
The prosecution says the state believes Hinton ran over the first law enforcement officer he saw after reviewing body camera video of an officer shooting and killing his son, Ryan Hinton, a day earlier.
Defendant in his current state is a giant mental health question mark and is a clear and present danger and poses a substantial risk of physical harm to law enforcement officers and to the public.
Hinton's attorney, Clyde Bennett, says the 38-year-old father was not in the right state of mind around the time of the crash.
They think that what they're doing is right, and they think that what they're doing is right because they're not in their right frame of mind.
Bennett requested Hinton receive a competency evaluation. The judge separately ordered jail staff to give Hinton any mental health treatment that is available.
I believe my client was mentally ill and probably committed this offense. I want him to get treated.
My goodness, let's talk about this, and let's talk about how emotional that father was and whether his emotional state is going to tip the scales of justice. Let's bring in attorney John Phillips, and I want to welcome into the conversation now private investigator and military veteran Manuel Gomez. John Phillips, it seemed like we were hearing a hint of maybe an insanity defense already at this first appearance. What did you think of that?
I think that's right. You know, I think they have to go where this is, you know, a mental break caused by the death of his son. But look, the African-American community in particular is sick and tired of being sick and tired, okay? And I ran for city council, and my district has a huge African-American population, and I went door to door and heard these families just grieve and feel helpless. And I'm a civil rights lawyer, right? And so I'm akin to this, but also had to hear the FOP out and their side of things. And you know, the two sides kind of pretend to talk to one another, but they don't. And this was just a mad father who has been deprived justice and feels like, why was his son shot, you know, for falling down? And I understand the circumstances of the gun near him, and police have a right to defend themselves and protect themselves. But it's a horrible situation.
No, it really is. And boy, you look at the close-up of the defendant's head, and it looks like he was injured in that crash too. And this video in particular, we want to talk about next. Manuel Gomez, want to draw your attention to this. So at the hearing, you could see the courtroom was packed with people supporting the Hinton family and packed with law enforcement supporting the family of Larry Henderson, the officer who was killed, the innocent party in all of this. We see the dad going past the line of the deputies and kind of, you know, staring down some of them, and the officers looking at him, staring right back. What do you think of this, Manuel?
Well, this shows the intent that his murder was deliberate, okay? And he's telling them right there to their faces, he's never going to be here again. And I just want to say the Rodney Hinton case, it also echoes of the Luigi Mangione case. These two cases show the silent rage in this country that we are witnessing, a general breakdown of law and order on top of the racial violence nationwide. In Ohio, there have been decades of justifying and excusing criminality. This is why it has led people to the point that we are blatantly celebrating people who commit first-degree murder. And this is what's happened in this case. Now there's hundreds of thousands of people on the internet, raging support for Rodney Hinton, agreeing with what he did, just like in Luigi Mangione. I hope and pray that the prosecutor in both cases lay the full extent of the law, because we must send a clear message that first-degree murder and vigilantism is not acceptable in America.
Manuel, you're so right. Tell us more. How does this feel for you as someone who served so many years? You've served in our military, had a very impressive military career. You served with the NYPD. You're a private investigator now. You've put your life on the line for people in the community. Did you ever think you would see the day where we're seeing exactly what you just said, where people are celebrating people who commit murders?
No, I mean, it's disheartening for myself and many of the other veterans who've served this country. I love this country as much as my family and my mother, but it's just appalling that every day I see this, and I see this in New York, in California, West Virginia, Texas, New Mexico. I'm a licensed investigator in New York, but I'm also licensed in 10 other states. So I cover all vast cases of similarity to this. And unfortunately, Luigi Mangione, Rodney Hinton, these cases are becoming more regular, and it's disturbing. The judicial fabric of the judiciary is deteriorating, and we need to do something now to correct it.
Manuel, you're so right. I want to hear more. We'll continue the conversation at another time, but thank you, and thank you, John Phillips, for weighing in on this case. We've got to leave it there for now, and I know we have to say goodbye to you both. John Phillips, Manuel Gomez, thank you both for your time and your expertise this morning here on Opening Statements.